Başlatıyorum. Sorusu olan var mı? Evet, hem buradayız hem Big Blue Button nerede? Tamam. Okay, let's get started. So, file input output operations in C, C++. So, file in computers are logically continuous stream of bytes. Okay, we don't usually think about their chunks. Okay, operating system knows what to do. So what we know about a file, we know the name, size, owner, permission, and when did it is created, and last modification date, right? So with a file structure in C, so we are basically holding the pointer, file handler, and then the size, and then what else? A file name, okay. Okay. So we are holding some information with this structure. So in Unix and also in Windows, in many operating systems, when you use list command, we are able to reach file properties. Okay. So this main function, can you see my? So these are my file names. Okay. So ls -l means it's listing my files in this folder. So these are my file names. These are the data we have created. Okay. And these are size. So it's about 1.2 megabytes. Okay. Size. This is the owner. And these are the permission, right? So we have the permission to write this executable file. This is an executable file. So that's why we have executable access or grant. Okay. So we are able to read, write, and execute this file. So we are able to read and write this text file. This is text file, right? So we are not able to run it. That's why we don't have executable grant. So permission. These are just very basic informations. You will see this in the future as well. Let's open a file. So with an ANSI C file, ANSI C program, we are using open function. Open function format looks like this. So we are giving the file name, which is the character or the address of the file, and then this is the mode. So if you wanna read or write or append, whatever. Okay. So we are usually, again, we are using file structure. In case of failure, let's say if there is no file, or if we have some errors, we are basically getting null back. Okay. So let's say this is my file pointer, and I'm using that file pointer and then trying to open password file to read it. Okay. Again, this is a text mode opening. And if it is null, which means we cannot open the file, and we are writing error message to the screen and we are exiting it. Okay. So we are ending the program. In Windows, okay, so as you remember, these are special characters. That's why we need to use twice. Okay. So we are basically giving the full path of the file. Otherwise, let's say if I type file dot txt, I can do that. In that case, it's opening this file in my executable file folder. Okay, they are going to be same. Where's my, okay, where am I? Any question? If you have any question, just shoot a message. Okay, so mode string in open file or open function. Okay, so for opening function, we, if you want to read the file only, we are basically using these mode read. Okay, only writing function, only appending function. Okay, and read plus write, write plus read, and then append plus read. Okay, for binary files, these are text file operations. Okay, text file, be careful with it. For binary files, we are basically using B characters that we are trying to read binary functions or open the binary functions in binary format. Okay, so these are Turkish definitions, so that's for your information. Okay, so let's say we have a function, it has 5 bytes in it. When we open this file with read, which means a file pointer or seeking operation is basically pointing my first byte. Okay, that means we are able to read from the first byte to end. When we open this file in this mode, I cannot change this character. Okay, so it's forbidden. Okay, again, when I open a file with a read permission, which means I'm not able to write anything in it, I cannot append, I cannot change any single byte. The operating system and program will tell me that that's a wrong action. So again, if you open a file with write plus, which means read and write, again my file pointer points the first byte, so I'm able to read all these guys, or I can update these guys if I want. Okay, or I can add any other characters, let's say F, X, whatever. That's up to me, or I can remove everything in it. That's up to me because I have read and write permission. Let's say if I use W or write, only write action or permission, even if I have that file, let's say I have many things in it, X, Y, Z, this mode basically removes everything for me and then opening a new file for me. Basically, it's removing everything in the file. Okay, so we got to be careful with opening a file. Sometimes you want to read the file, you don't want to you lose the data, but if you open with this mode, you will basically lose everything. Okay, write plus, in this case again, contents are erased, but we are able to add, write and read the file, and we are able to change the position of the file pointer. Okay, that's up to us. With append, which means we need to add new data, new information to the end of the file. That's real word is appending. As you see, this is simple mathematical or logic. These are coming from all the first letter, okay? So it's not magic, it's logical naming. And append plus means, again, we are able to add new data to the file, or we can able to change the file or read. Okay. Memory types. Okay. So as you remember, this is a short review. Memory types. We have volatile memories, which are called RAM, and non-volatile memories, disk, CD-ROM, and SSD. So our files are usually sitting in here. When we open it, we are getting the data to RAM, and we operate those guys or those information. And when we are done, when we write the operation or when we write the data, so we are writing back to disk or SSD. Okay. Again, we have two basic file types, text and binary. And we have learned how to open with open function. Okay. So reading and writing the file. So IO operations. First of all, we are using fscanf and fprintf functions. These are formatted input-output functions. Okay. Character reading and writing. So first of all, basically getChar and putChar functions we have. For files, we have fgetC and fputC. Okay. Reading and writing one line of code from a text file, we are basically using getString and putString functions. If we want to read block of a block of data, so we are using basically fread and fwrite functions. Okay. As you remember, these F stands for files. Again, if you have questions, just shoot a message or tell me what to do so I can help you. And let's see here. Okay, scanf and printf. So for fscanf, we are basically giving the name of the file and then trying to read the data. Okay, so basically which file we are reading, that's why we are giving the file pointer. And then let's say in here we are reading two integers from this file. Okay, so first of all, scanf is the function that we are able to read integers or data from the keyboard. Okay, and arkadaşlar şey linki verdim, Google Meet linki verdim. Oraya geçerseniz şu an orada 3-5 kişi var, herkes katılmadı. Ekran paylaşımında sıkıntı olmuştu şeyde. Yukarı çıkarsanız Google Meet linki verdim. Tamam.
Hocam ekran altında sizin sesiniz kapalı olduğu için arkadaşlar soru yazmıyor.
Meet'te sesim kapalı mı?
Açık hocam da benim Blue altında kapalı. O yüzden arkadaşlarımız olayı kaçırmış oluyor.
Evet, pardon, tamam, teşekkür ederim. Evet arkadaşlar, kusura bakmayın, Big Blue Button'da sesimizi kısmıştık. Yukarıda bakarsanız Google Meet linki verdim. Çünkü ekran paylaşımında sıkıntı veriyordu. Kusura bakmayın, bayağıdır ders devam ediyor. Ee, Google Meet linkine tıklayıp derse katılırsanız öbür tarafta devam edeceğiz. Buradaki sesi de kapatıyorum. Arkadaşlarım dedi ki yankı yapıyor. Tamam. Ben ara ara duyuru yapıyorum ama arkadaşım hatırlattı. Buradaki sesi kapatınca size bir duyuru gelmiyor. Evet. Yine buradan kapatıyorum. Öbür Google Meet'te buluşalım. Evet, teşekkürler. So, scanf and fscanf functions are doing similar operations. And printf and fprintf functions basically printing formatted data to file, right? So here we are basically giving the file pointer, file handle, and then we are writing similar stuff with printf function, okay? Just like printf function. So we are giving the fp pointer, and then we are typing total whatever it is, okay? Again, clearly for here, formatted IO input output functions, fscanf and fprintf functions are used only text files. So we are not able to read data from binary files by using these functions. Okay. So let's see. As you remember, we have getchar and putchar in C. We are getting and putting characters to and from the keyboard and to string, or I'm sorry, to screen. And for files, we are basically using f get c and f put c, f get character and f put character. Okay. So in here, we are reading a file character by character. So here is a character integer. We are getting one character from the file. First of all, we need to open the file, right? Open a file here with open. When we open correctly, and then we are getting character by character. So we are reading file to the end. So there is an end of file symbol or special character here, which is basically telling me this is end of file. That's called -1. Okay. When we read the character, we are able to do anything we want. So in while loop, we can do anything with that character. And if you have any questions, just shoot there. So let's see. So for integer, returning an integer with getchar function, that's because we are able to read 256 bytes. These are ASCII characters, right? But when there is an error, ASCII characters, when there is an error, I need to express that error with, let's say, -1, -2. That's why, let's say, end of file is basically -1. If there is an error, let's say it's going to be -2, right? That's why we are basically using integers, to get a character from file. Okay. And text and binary operations in Windows and in Unix, those are different. In text mode, when we open read mode, okay, when we reach a new line, that means we are basically printing a new line. Okay. In binary mode, when we open a file with this, and we will get two characters by reading this binary function mode file. Okay, so there's a little simple trick we got to be careful by working Windows. Okay, just be careful, otherwise everything is simple and clear. And yes, we already told you this. So in Windows, when we type new line, there will be two characters in the file. Okay. In Linux, yes, in binary mode, when we type new line, there will be only one character. That's simple trick. Okay. In Unix, new line means new line. There will be no additional characters used. Okay. So let's say character, and there is a get string function. It's basically accepting a bunch of characters or string. And f get string function looks like this. First of all, we have a character, and in this case, it's trying to read a bunch of characters, let's say n characters, from this file. Okay. Okay. Again, get string and f get string functions always put null characters, which means null character at the end of the string. Here's an extra information. F get string function is safe, so it's always reading n minus 1 character and always putting this symbol, which is telling me that my string ends. This is my string. Okay, and at the very end I put this character. Okay, these are just not very important. Okay, f read and f write. So for reading block of data or writing block of data to file or from the file, we are basically using file read and file write functions. First of all, we have the pointer, and then how many bytes we will write or how many elements we will write, and this is the element. Okay, and this is the target file pointer. For writing, for reading, we have this. For writing, we have similar. Okay, first of all, we have the pointer that we want to write the data from, and then we have the size, how many bytes we are going to write in a block, and this is how many blocks. Okay, let's see. So let's say we open the file, and this is a binary, and we are able to read and write. Okay, but be careful. In here, we didn't check that we opened this file correctly. Okay, we are going to, that's much more important. Let's say if there is an error, we are not able to read anything, we are not able to write anything to file, right? So first of all, we are reading A, which is my array and 4 bytes, and then we are trying to read 100 integers basically, okay, from this pointer file. That means I'm able to read 100 integers in a block in one read function. Okay, so back, since we have read and write permission here, back we are able to write a bunch of data back to this file. Okay, again, in this case we are trying to write 20 integers to file, and then we are trying to write final or the last 20 integers to the target file. So that's why we are starting from 80, and we are basically trying to write from 80 to 100 or 99. Okay, that means we are writing final 20 integers to file. That's why fread and fwrite functions are used in binary. Yes, are used in binary files, and then we are able to read and write in chunks. Okay, so we can also write and read binary data directly in chunks to with structures. Okay, this is one structure, and then let's say I have one integer, one floating point, and one string with 80 characters. So when I open a binary file, as you remember, this B stands for binary, and then here I'm able to read this size, so one structure size, and then 10 structures from the file. Okay, and this is the string of structures, and again we are able to write back to 10 this file, these 10 structures back to file, right? That's simple. So this is my target file that I want to read, and this is one structure size, and this is how many structures that I will read from the file. This is the target space that I will save my data that I read. Okay, and what else? File position. Okay, when I open a file, I need to move these information a bunch of slides back backward, so that will be much more meaningful. Okay, when we open the file pointer points somewhere else in the file. Okay, let's say when I open the file with append mode, which means my file pointer always shows the end. That means I'm not able to write anything in there, or I'm not changing data that I already have. I'm basically have the ability to write at the end of the file. Okay, so let's say after reading 2 bytes, let's basically it's reading 1 byte, and how many bytes I'm going to read? 2, right? When I read 2 bytes, file pointer basically holding the target address after reading operation. Okay, so there is a file pointer file seeker, there's a seeking function we will see in a minute. Okay, so there will be a file pointer which is telling me where am I in the file. Okay, after reading 1 byte, so file pointer is updated, as you see. Okay, so when I read, when am I? So if I read 4 bytes, I was here before, remember? When I want to read 4 bytes from here, so it has already 2 bytes. That's why it's printing DE or holding DE for me. And then file pointer is pointing the very final byte. Okay. And let's say if I run this command, if I want to read, let's say 10 more bytes from here, it will give me -1 or 0. I mean, it will be an error, which means we are already reached the end of file. Okay, there is a function, ftell function, and that means it's giving me the size of the file. I don't know why they have differences here. For small files, use this guy. For big files, use this guy. Okay. I think this is an old function. That's why it's not working with larger files. Okay. So for positioning the file pointer, we have seek set, seek current, and seek end keywords. Okay. Seek set means it's basically pointing the first byte in the file. Seek current means the current position of the file pointer, and seek end is the end of the file. Okay. So if I use fseek, file seek function, first of all I need to give a function, and then I will give the offset address. Okay. Yes. So fset position n is another function. Again, it's basically setting the file pointer anywhere in the file for me. Let's see how it works. Let's say when I open the file, let's say with append plus, which means that guy is basically jumping to the end of the file, right? Sitting there, or let's say, and if I write something like this, it's basically my file pointer jumps to the beginning, and then I'm able to read the data from here, or I can update the data in here. That's up to me. Okay. For jumping to the first byte, there is another function, rewind function, which is basically jumping to the first byte to the folder, in the folder. Okay. So from the beginning, we are able to jump to the 100 bytes from the beginning. Okay. That's also possible. So fseek function is basically moving around in the file, So I'm able to target on the target bytes or target, yeah, on the target bytes. Okay. Okay. Let's say my file pointer is sitting somewhere in the file. Let's say I'm here. I want to jump 100 bytes from here to the right. Okay. 500 bytes, I'm sorry. That's why I'm basically running this command. It will jump my file pointer 500 bytes from here to there. Okay. Or I can have this function. I want to point my file pointer from the end and 1000 bytes from the end. That's why I'm writing something minus 1000 there. Okay. Or let's say I want to reach at end of file. In that case, I'm running this function. Okay. I think it's clear. And standard in, standard out, and standard error functions. Normally in Unix, basically, we have three functions, three files, I'm sorry. Standard in means keyboard, standard out means screen, and standard error means again screen. If there is an error message, and you will see it on the screen. If otherwise, we can define another file, it's possible. Okay. So we can write errors or information to another files, and these are the standard keywords that targeting how can I say, so these are basically default streams. Okay. And scanf, we have scanf. We know that this is reading from keyboard, and I'm able to write scanf with fscanf. In this case, I'm writing standard in, which means this is keyboard, right? In this case, we are reading from keyboard again. These two functions are same. Okay. Similarly, I have printf function. When I used standard out for fprintf, in that case, I'm writing same thing in here and in here. In this case, I'm basically giving the screen address, so I'm writing everything to screen. And if I use standard error default name, in that case, if I have any message in here, it will be written to the screen. Okay. In Linux and Unix, you will see in the future, when we run a program and when we type something like this, which means we will read this file and then send it back to our program. Okay. When we execute our program, okay, and when I type something like this, which means all my outputs will be written to this function. Okay. When I write my when I execute my program with this option, which means let's say 0 keyboard, those are names or integer indices for streams. One is for screen, two is for again screen. Okay, so two is the name for standard error. When I type something like this, that helps me if there will be any error in this program, and it will be written this file. Okay, in the future when you run a very large programs, you'll see that you want to save your data to another file, and you want to save your logs or error files to another file, so you can scan or check that your program is generating correct outputs. Okay, so for C, by using standard IO library functions, we are able to reach files. Okay, so we are able to use standard C functions, and those are sitting basically standard IO functions. But in C, we are also able to use operating system file functions, file IO functions. Okay, check. Okay, so that's the strength of C. Okay, we were using standard IO functions, and those are scanf, printf, getchar, and etc. These are simple screen and keyboard functions. Okay, and these are, again, we are able to use screen and keyboards as well as disk, right? We can open file and write anything or read anything from the file. And also we are able to use system operating system API files, application interface files. So those are basically functions that we are able to use in our program. Okay, okay, in Unix based systems we can use open function and read function. Those are basically similar, and but these are system files. Okay, as you see, always remember that when we are done with our function files, we are closing our files. Okay, as you remember, these are main Unix functions, system functions. That's why if those other files are called fseek, fclose, whatever. That's why we are using a different naming. Okay, and what else, what else? In system IO functions, we don't have fscanf and fprintf functions. And when we open a file, okay, with this file structure, we are always getting a number that is basically, it's called file handler. Okay, that number is, let's say it was 102, and let's say 500. Okay, remember, in Unix system, this is keyboard, this was screen, and this was screen. When you open a file, which means you will get an integer file descriptor or file handler, and it will be basically telling that you have that ability. Okay, and let's see. Okay, we already have seen this file, and in this file structure we are able to holding the size of the file, name of the file, and what else, and when the file is created. Okay, so we open a file with read, and this is a binary file, and we are able to read 10 bytes from this file, right? And with the read function, these are, let's say this is the standard IO function, standard IO, which means it is ANSI C library. This is C, but this function, it's already there, but it's a Unix function, operating system function. Okay, we have two choices to use. So in Unix, again, standard in, and it's the name or the code is 0, 1. This is the keyboard, again, this is the screen, and this is the screen. When you open a new file, again, its integer descriptor will be bigger than 3. That's because these guys are reserved, right? And what else? Again, this is a Unix command. We open a text file, and it's a read-only. Okay, these are the modes, and we are reading 1 byte from the file, and then we are closing it. Normally in C we have fclose function. That's a simple difference. Okay, so we are reading, since this is the 0, we are reading from the keyboard 1 character. We are writing 1 character to screen, right? And what else? Okay, string IO, which means we have string library we are using, and we are trying to write or generate a new string by using strings. Okay, as scanf function, it's not reading from keyboard, it's not reading from file, it's basically reading. Let's say I have a string here, a bunch of string, a bunch of text, whatever, let's say 1, 2, 3, and then I'm reading from string and then generating another string. Let's say I'm reading first 4 bytes, x1, 2, 3. Okay, so scanf function or an sprintf functions are not reading from file. Those are basically reading and writing from string. Let's see, I have this string which is holding 100 bytes, and then in here I'm generating a new string, and in the string it will be, let's say, integer I'm sorry, this will be I, and then in my string I have this message. Okay. When I want to print the information, and everything will be like here. Okay. Let's say I have this string. Be careful with it. So I'm using scanf function and giving the target string. In that string, since it's holding two numbers, one is integer, one is a floating point, so I'm able to read these information from the string. I'm sorry, this guy will go there and this guy will go there. So integer will be 1 2 3 4, and then floating point will be 12.5. Okay. So scanf and sprintf functions, again, it's not reading from file, there's no IO. It's basically reading from integer or writing to integer. I'm sorry, it's reading from a string and then it's writing from a string. It's writing to string with format. Okay. So file pointer, complete review here. As you remember, we are using this file pointer or file structures to open, close, fclose, and whatever we do in ANSYS. Okay. And then normally standard in, standard out, and standard error keywords are standing for keyboard and screens. Okay. We are able to use these functions to read and write block of data from file to file. Okay. As you remember, in C, we are using standard IO functions, and these are fscanf, fprintf, fread, fwrite, fclose, whatever. And sprintf and scanf is reading from strings and writing from two strings. Do you have any questions? Evet arkadaşlar, son iki slaydı ve Türkçe işlemek istiyorum. Şuradan başlayayım. Arkadaşlar normalde bütün programlama dillerinde genelde kendi IO fonksiyonları vardır. Veya bazı özel durumlarda e, işletim sistemlerinin size sunduğu programlarda kullanabilirsiniz. Sistem çağrılarında kullanabilirsiniz. Bunlara API deniyor. Yani Unix'te farklı isimlendirilebilir. Unix'te sistem call denmiş. Windows'ta API diye isimlendiriliyor. Yani sistemin size sunduğu fonksiyonları kullanabiliyorsunuz. Gördüğünüz gibi fread fonksiyonu yerine read fonksiyonu bu Unix'in kendi fonksiyonu arkadaşlar. Write fonksiyonu Unix'in kendi fonksiyonu. Yani şuradaki 1.0'da yazacağımız şeyin adresi. Dosyanın adresi. Şimdi ne diyecektim? scanf ve sprintf fonksiyonları da, bu fonksiyonlar arkadaşlar herhangi bir dosyaya yazmıyor. Herhangi bir scanf kullanarak bir formatlı string içinde istediğimiz parçayı koparıp almak için mesela düşünün, vatandaşın no'su var. İşte numarası kaç olsun? 1453 olsun. Ondan sonra adı olsun İbrahim. İşte neyse, bölüm olsun, yazılım, bilgisayar olsun. Tamam. Böyle formatlı bir bilgisayar, bir bilgi var elimde. Text var, string var. Ben bunu parçalara bölmek istiyorum. Bunu elimdeki hazır string'i parçalara bölmek için de scanf'i kullanıyorum. Diyorum ki sen buradaki ilk parçayı bir integer olarak ata bakalım. İşte diyelim ki no bilgisini ata. İkinci parçayı bir string olarak al bakalım. İşte str'yi oku. Üçüncü bölümü de işte başka bir string oku. O da bölüm olsun. Tamam. Yani scanf fonksiyonu hazır bulunan bir string'i formatlı string içinden bilgiyi okuyup parçalayabiliyoruz. Buna parsing de deniyor. Parsing operation. İleride compiler işlemlerini göreceksiniz. Başka işlemlerde de göreceksiniz. Web sayfasını parse yapıyorsunuz. İşte içindeki bütün gereksiz kelimeleri atıyorsunuz. Sonra odaklanıyorsunuz orijinal kelimelere. Sprintf ise arkadaşlar formatlı string oluşturmak için istediğimiz formatta hedef string adresini verdikten sonra istediğim formatta yazıyı o stringin içine yazıyorum ki hazır ediyorum stringi. Tamam. Evet, burada da örnekleri var zaten. En son olarak arkadaşlar normal ANSY'de dosya işlemlerini gördük. File structure'ında bir dosyanın açılmasını, kapanmasını, her şeyini buradan yaptık hatırlıyorsanız. Open, fclose, standard in, standard out. Bunlar da zaten genel keywordlerdi. Fwrite, fread ve bütün çalıştığımız fonksiyonlar aslında şu kütüphanenin ürünüydü. Tamam mı? Eğer ekstra kütüphane gerekiyorsa zaten onları da yazıyoruz. Sprintf, scanf fonksiyonları ise bildiğiniz gibi formatlı stringlerden okuyup yazma işlemi sağlıyor. Sorusu olan var mı? Böyle genel bir özetleme yaptım. Evet arkadaşlar, kendinize iyi bakın. Kolay gelsin. Kendinize iyi bakın. Kolay gelsin arkadaşlar. Dersin videosunu en kısa zamanda atacağım.